You know why they shoot soldiers who desert the front line? Because cowardice is contagious. And if one person exhibits it, it can spread like an epidemic virus. And so when healthy, wholesome armies are fighting dead serious battles, and should anybody desert or should anybody abandon his post, they very often apply immediate justice there and then, because the danger is of it spreading. Cowardice is contagious. The good news is, so is courage. And that's one of the reasons that I am loving the time I'm getting to spend with Pastor Rob. There are all kinds of good things about him, but the one that I personally find most valuable to me is courage. He's got courage. He's a man of courage. And so the more I hang out with him, the more I hope that some of that will spread to me through the contagiousness of courage. It's wonderful being here with you all. It's wonderful being in this house of God, a house that the bricks have been so meticulously and laboriously placed in position by Pastor Rob. Thank you for having me. And yes, I'm very much looking forward to continuing. As you know, we're not going to run out of material, right? So we're just going to get in as much as we absolutely can. I'm going to move right into it now, and on Sunday morning we will continue. But for here and now, I got to say that I've spoken about the importance of connection. And so just think about it. There are certain straightforward steps that anybody can do at certain points in their lives to dramatically improve their life situation. Now, it's not always easy to find those things. It's very easy to find the reverse. If I asked you to come up with 3 things you could do that would destroy your life, 1, 2, 3, bang, you got them. I mean, it's so easy to come up with 3 things that would destroy your life. Now come up with 3 things that would dramatically improve your life. It's a lot harder. But there are things like that. Just as there are things that will destroy your life, there are also things that will dramatically improve it. There are things like that. But we have to be willing to step way out of the comfort zone. And so one of the very specific tools that I want to make sure that you each carry away with you today, because the theory is very important, the understanding is very important, absorbing these principles into your heart is very important. But at the same time, we need the practical application as well. And so you just think about it now. If you're speaking to somebody who's just starting life, just leaving school, I'd say to him, get a job, keep it, deliver more than is expected of you, get married, and stay married. You are now on the escalator to success. That's 5 things. You really don't have to worry about anything else. That's what I tell young people starting out. It's very simple. Get a job, keep it, deliver more than is expected of you, not only in business, but in family also. Get married, stay married. You do those things. There's a reason for each one of them. I mean, it's well known, it's well understood that the poorest people in America are who? What is the most poverty-stricken demographic in America? A lot of people are going to think I'm going to say, the African American. No, that's not true. Single males. Even single females do better than single males. The poorest people in America of any color are single men. That is the truth. And so marriage puts you on the road to prosperity, to a woman. to look, we're living in crazy times, I've got to say it. That's all. Okay, but I'm not talking now to people who are just leaving school and people who are just starting out. So what are the specific things right now? Well, find out how you can serve as many people as possible. And you say, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I mean, I work as a school teacher, or I work as whatever it is. I mean, I have a job. That's what I do. What are you talking about? Well, if you're not in business for yourself, you should be. Now, that doesn't mean you should quit what you're doing. It means you should start devoting a few hours a week to finding out what you can do for other people, and then start doing. Well, wait a sec, Rabbi, you think I got a whole lot of time? Well, as a matter of fact, yeah, I do. I do think you got a whole lot of time. If there is anybody in this room who does not own a television, put up your hands. 2 of us. Everybody else has plenty time, I promise you. Just stop watching. And by the way, now I have to include not just television, but watching cat videos on YouTube. Stop it. Stop it. Stop wasting your time. This is a drug. And not only is it consuming your time, but it is increasing your tendency towards passivity. It's increasing your tendency towards being a spectator of life. Stop it. Just break free. And if you do that, I guarantee you, I've just given you probably in the area of 5 to 10 hours a week. Do you know what you could do with 5 or 10 hours a week? Do you know what sort of business you could begin with 5 or 10 hours a week? There's not a person here that doesn't apply to. Now, I'm not saying you can come up with the idea of what to do in 30 seconds. You may have to take a few hours to work on it. You may have to do a little bit of research and find out what is needed. What can you do? Can you cook beautifully? Can you bake? Can you fix cars? Can you give people extra help in learning how to write music or play an instrument? I don't know what it is. But God endowed each and every person here with a specific skill. And if you don't know what it is, you've probably been watching way too much video. Just stop it. And so you got to start a business. I don't care if you've got a 40-hour-a-week job. I don't care if you've got a 50-hour-a-week job. There's plenty more hours in the week than that. Use some of it. That's all you got to do. Next, you have to increase the number of people who know you, like you, and trust you. Because now that you've figured out a way to serve other people, you need people who want you to serve them. How do you do that? Well, I know what a lot of people are saying is, Rabbi, look, you know what? I'm just not a people person. I'm just not. Some people are gregarious. Some people are outgoing. Some people just like connecting with a lot of people. I'm not one of those people. I'm just sort of shy. I'm just not really a people person. Do you ever remember the period of adolescence when your face broke out with like 10,000 pimples? Right? Nobody here is so old that we can't remember that. Do you remember that you used to spend the equivalent of the gross domestic product of a small nation on medicine and pharmaceuticals to try and make it go away? How come nobody says, hey, Rabbi, I'm just a pimply person. What do we say? All these people are going around spending money on curing. You know what? I'm okay with it. I'm just a pimply person. That's what I am. I don't remember anybody doing that. Nobody accepted a shortcoming and said, oh, that's just how it is. Nobody does that. But we do that with shyness. Shyness is a handicap. And it's true, God gives all of us, different qualities and attributes and skills. He also gives us different challenges. Right? I understand there are people who are challenged by alcohol. There are people who are challenged by drugs. There are people who are challenged by shoplifting, for heaven's sake. There are people who do have tendencies to be pulled in the wrong direction. But we also, at the same time, have abilities. And when there's something that handicaps us, why would you just accept it? God created us to connect. And you're saying, you know what, I'm just not good at that. Yeah, I understand. And like, did you get born being good at driving a car? No. You kind of work at it a little bit. Were you born being good at anything you can do? No, of course not. We don't accept handicaps. We are intended to work on ourselves. There is a critical sentence in the book of Numbers, where it says, and you shall teach them, talking about taking these words and teach them to your children. You must teach it to them. In Hebrew, it is v'limadtem otam, you shall teach them. But here's one of the amazing things about the Lord's language, and that is that in the Torah, the words are written without vowels. All Hebrew writing is done primarily with consonants, and the vowels are omitted. Why is that? Because consonants are holier letters than vowels. Well, why is that? Well, that's because animals all make vowel sounds. Only human beings make consonant sounds. And so if you go into the jungle, take a walk in Costa Rica through the jungle, what do you hear? Ee, ah, ooh, ah, 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 eh, ee. It's the 5 vowels. That's what you get. That's what you hear. And so I was explaining this to a seminar of a few. Tim, you're a great teacher. You really are. Somebody said to me, Rabbi, you may be right in general, but I got a parakeet that really talks with full consonants and everything. I said, he really doesn't. Oh, yeah, he really does. I said, all right, would you mind if I came over to your house and listened to this parakeet talking? Oh, we'd like you to. You'll see you're wrong. I took my nifty little Sony tape recorder. Well, it's actually a digital recorder. What's great about it is you can vary the speed. What did I do? I said, now make your parakeet talk. You know, so this feathered mess starts making a noise, and sure enough, you know, it says words that I see why she thinks it sounds, because it kind of sounds like it. And I'm very impressed. But meanwhile, I'm recording it, and then when we finished, I say, now I'm going to play it back for you, but I'm going to play it back real slow, so that you can hear that it didn't say the consonant. Your brain filled that part in. Yeah. Played it back, and sure enough, parakeet never said a single consonant. And so consonants are much more important, and that's why the vowels are omitted. There's another reason the vowels are omitted, is because there are several different ways of pronouncing a word if you just change the vowels around. You follow what I'm saying? Ben, B-E-N is a guy's name. Bin is something you can drop stuff in. Ban is to prohibit. Now, in English, all of that's meaningless. But in the Lord's language, every word that can be created out of the same set of consonants with different vowels, those words are all linked and connected. So I tell you all of that, so you should know that when the Hebrew says, and you shall teach them, meaning you shall teach these words to your children, right, that's God's instruction. That word, you shall teach them, teach it to them, v'limadtem otam, that same word otam can be pronounced atem. Same word, right? Just different vowels. That means, and you shall teach them to yourself. Meaning that God wants each and every one of us to regard ourselves as our own most important child. So much so that in ancient Jewish wisdom, if a parent has only enough money to hire a teacher to teach the Bible either to his child or to himself, you come first. And then afterwards, when you know it, you teach it to your child. But you have to regard yourself as your most important child. Now, if your child has a problem, like pimples, wouldn't you want to help him or her get rid of them? And if your child has a problem like shyness, just an inability to connect, a feeling of embarrassment, I don't want to put myself out there, wouldn't you want to help your child overcome that? And so if you've got that problem, you really have to overcome it. And you have to just not worry how silly you'll look. My dear friend, the late Zig Ziglar, I used to travel with him a fair bit. We used to do a lot of different things together. And he was very good at this. He went out of his way. He'd go up to total strangers, and he'd bounce right up to them and say, "Hi, my name's Zig Ziglar. What's yours?" And before people knew it, they were engaged in this conversation. And then he'd walk away with their business card, and they had his. He did it all the time. So you've got to increase. But wait a second. How do you do it? Here's a very important principle in ancient Jewish wisdom. We treat numbers as truly very important. What I mean by that is that when they say numbers don't lie, it's true. People lie with numbers, but numbers don't lie. And so I would urge any of you who don't yet know how to read a financial statement, take some of that time you were wasting on cat videos and get out a good book, and there's 100 great books on just really easy introduction to understanding financial statements. Do yourself a favor, because here's a general rule. If you want to increase something like your money, you need to be able to measure it. You need to have a metric. And if you want to lose something like weight, you need to measure that also. And so the idea of I'm wanting to lose weight, but I don't own a scale is just plain dumb. If you want to lose weight, not only do you have to weigh yourself, you have to actually record the weight. No cheating, with a date next to it. Then you stand a chance. But if you don't put numbers on it, you stand no chance at all. You with me? Yeah? And so learn to read numbers. We treat numbers very, very importantly. So much so, by the way, that when it comes to making investments in companies or getting involved in companies or even thinking of taking a job with a company, if it's a public company, take a look at their annual report. If it's got lots and lots and lots of words, but only 2 pages of numbers at the back, run for your life. Because I can also tell good stories. And I don't want any new ones to have to tell. I want a financial report that's thin on words and heavy on numbers. You show me the numbers, I'll tell you the story. I don't need the story. I got it from the numbers because I can read them. And so all of that is to explain to you that this weekend, before you go to bed on Sunday night, what you need to do is write down a list of all the people who would take your phone call. You can count relatives, but don't count people you owe money to. And here's the good news and the bad news. You think to yourself, oh, what a big job he's given us. What do you think I've got hours and hours to do it? I'm afraid you don't have quite as many as you think. If there's somebody on your list who, if you call him, you get his secretary or his voicemail, and they say, oh, he'll get back to you, but he never does, don't put that name down. And count how many people in your life, you can count relatives, count how many people in your life there are who would take your phone call. It's not as many as you think. You know, you think, oh, it's probably hundreds and hundreds of people. No. If you're doing really, really well, it'll be 70. But it probably will be less than that. And now that you've got a baseline number, commit yourself to adding 5 every month. That's all. Got to make 5 new friends every month. That's not that hard. You just have to do it. Do you know how many potential friends you walk by every single day? And I'm not saying you've got to walk up to strangers in the street, but there are opportunities, there are places, and if you don't have enough of those opportunities, make those opportunities. Get involved somewhere. In the 9th chapter of the book, I explain about the importance of giving charity. And yes, you get blessed by God, and all of those things are true. But there's another very important part of it, is giving charity is one of the great ways of connecting. If you join a Rotary organization, you join a welfare group or a civic group, or you get involved somewhere where people are trying to do good and give, all of a sudden you've got a whole bunch of new people to add to your list once you've made the connection. And it's got to be an authentic connection. You can't come across as, oh, I just need to fill in my 5 people this month. You'll do. You don't want to do that. But now put down on the calendar, it's by Sunday, it's going to be, the 24th of January. So put down, by the end of February, my list, which as of today, shockingly, is only 43 people or 29 people, it's got to have 5 more people by the end of February. And then just make sure you don't just put that book away. You've got to keep a look at this, right, every few days to make sure you're on track, because that means a little more than 1 a week. That's what you've got to keep doing. Meanwhile, at the same time, you're also figuring out what business you're in. How are you going to be able to help people? So as you're able to then notify your growing list of people, hey, this is what I do. Do you follow what I'm saying? So these are very practical, very specific things you absolutely have to do. And this is foundational, absolutely foundational. You see, it's not an accident that the opening of Genesis, which if you or I would have written that book, the way we would have done it is we would have said, and God created light, and God separated the light and the darkness, and then God created the oceans and the waters, and he put the waters here and the waters there, and then God created land, and then God created snails and sharks, and then God created camels and cats and kangaroos. How's this different from what it really says? Before that, it doesn't say, and God created. It says, and God said, let there be. What's the saying all about? What's the said? Because when you say something, you bring it into reality. Hey, but Rabbi, I just don't have the gift of the gab. You know, some people can just open their mouths and rattle on for hours and talk about it. I'm not one. I'm a deeper, more thoughtful kind of person. Yes, and a very poor one too. What is the most important organ for making money? Unless if I succeeded in my quest to becoming a swimsuit model, then, perhaps it would be my bod. But in the absence of that, since that career path didn't work out so well for me, anti-Semitism, I told you, it's terrible. Clearly, the most important organ for making money, the mouth. It's the mouth. It's how you connect with people. That's how it all happens. The ability to communicate, articulate, express yourself fluently and effectively. But hey, I'm just not a talkative sort of person. I sort of think a lot. It's like pimples. You want to stay that way forever? Solve the problem. God created us to talk. It is one of the wonderful things about a community, a neighborhood of families. There are women there, and women talk in a wonderful way. Let me explain what I mean. This is my friend Andrew, came all the way from Rockford. If I call you up, or you called my radio show often, What would be if you called the radio show and I say, oh, here's Andrew from Rockford. Welcome to KSFO, to the Rabbi Daniel Lapin show. Great to be with you on the air. So how things, Andrew? And he said, oh, fine, Rabbi, how things with you? And I said, oh, fine, thank you. I'm waiting for him to say what he called about, aren't I? He should now say something like, well, you know what you were saying a few minutes ago? Well, I don't agree with that. But he doesn't do that. He's like quiet for a few seconds, and then he says, so been doing anything interesting, Rabbi? And I say, yeah, a whole lot of interesting things, Andrew. And he says, and how's your family? Kids all okay? I'm starting to get really itchy, and I'm giving wild finger gesticulations to my producer through the window, saying, like, what do you let this person on for? But what's wrong? What's wrong is that men, in general, are purpose communicators. If I get a phone call in the middle of the day and somebody says, hi, how you doing? I say, well, thank you, Jeff, I'm fine, how you doing? Now that we've dispensed with the pleasantries, could you just, why did you call me? And ladies, I got to tell you, I know this sounds weird to you, but we guys, we get very itchy when somebody calls and doesn't get to the point. Well, I don't have all day for this. Right? Right. Now listen to women speaking. Women call each other up all the time just to say hello. And they don't get itchy, they love it. And that is the key to our survival. That is where the connections come from. How many examples are there of a man's business prospering because his wife got friendly with another woman at who knows where, and her husband, they then went out for dinner tonight as a foursome, and then the two men met, and then they're doing business together. When I said before that poverty is a function of single men, that's because they don't have wives to help connect them with the world. A simple question for each and every one of you. If you're married, I want to know who in your marriage keeps up with birthday cards and New Year's cards. How many men actually take care of that part of life? Not a lot. Women are natural connectors and communicators. And it works just wonderfully. It's great. And that's what's so important to understand. And so that's why I say that neighborhoods where you don't have families, neighborhoods that don't have women, are kind of lonely and isolated. There's no feeling of neighborhood and community there because that's always created by the women. Men have to learn that. Now, one of the great things about being married is that men who tend to bottle up all their feelings and their thoughts, they get married, and then she starts nagging and says, tell me I want to know what you're feeling. No, it's fine, everything's good, don't worry. No, tell me what you're thinking. And little by little, over the first 10 or 15 years of marriage, guys begin to learn how to communicate. And women have to know that this is part of their job. You're a new bride, you're a young wife, part of your job is to help him become a better communicator. And so I'm going to leave you now with a very specific thing that you all absolutely need to do. And if you do this, I promise you that, when am I coming back, Pastor Rob? 6 months?
6 months.
I promise you in 6 months' time, you're going to come up to me and thank me for what I'm about to tell you. You've got to improve your ability to communicate and articulate. Your mouth is your most important organ for making money. It's how you get a job, it's how you sell yourself, it's how you sell your products, it's how you sell your company, it's how you make new connections and new friends and add to your growing Rolodex. It's funny, kids today have no idea what a Rolodex is. It's the contact list on your iPhone. So, do you remember Rolodexes? It sort of dates you a little bit because people don't know what they are. But all right, you want to know? Pay attention now, and after this, you can all relax. If you want to increase dramatically your ability to articulate ideas, express yourself fluently and effectively, what you need to do is read aloud from a good book, maybe even the good book, it doesn't matter. Read aloud from a good book for 20 to 30 minutes, 3 times a week. That's not asking a lot. Your friends will not recognize you. Not in a year. In 2 months, your friends won't recognize you. Magic takes place in our minds when our own ears hear our own lips and tongue saying words. That's one of the reasons that psyching yourself up works. Have you noticed, whether it's in sports or anywhere else? If you've got a tough sales call coming up, and before you say it, you say, this is going to go really well. This is going to go well. I'm going to walk in there. I'm going to do what I have to do. And this particular prospect is signing on. Now, you don't know any of that, but the more you can say it, the better it becomes. Right? We were talking a little earlier about confidence. Giving your children the gift of confidence, right? Part of that is being able to talk to yourself. But it's not enough to think it. Everybody, any coach knows that your players have to hear themselves saying those things. In the same way, when you read aloud, and pick a decent book, don't read People magazine. It's got to be something worthwhile, because you are looking for a book that sounds the way you would like to sound. Pick a book. There's really a million decent books. There's not a problem. Pick a good book. Now, sometimes you sort of feel a bit of an idiot reading aloud. It's like, hey, didn't he learn to read without moving his lips? So, do it in the bathroom when there's no one around. Or better yet, rent a kid to read to, because kids are really happy. There's a business idea, by the way, renting out kids. I know some of you are saying nobody would rent my kids, but you'd be surprised. Well, what happens is when you do that, the kid's perfectly happy to listen to you read. Your spouse. This works pretty well for me, excepting my wife goes to sleep as soon as I read to her, which worries me a lot because, what if that actually is part of my whole makeup, putting people to sleep? This would be very depressing. I'd starve to death. So, but that's what you've got to do. I'm making a joke out of it, but I'm very serious. If you make that commitment, you will be startled at your expanded vocabulary. You'll be startled about how easily things spring to mind, how easily you're able to deal with objections. You see, many sales training programs give you the lists. Here, if the prospect says this is what you must say. The prospect says, but if you learn it by heart so it's like a script, then you sound insincere. And you are. And that's why I've been speaking about last night and today, changing yourself, becoming a different person, becoming a person who communicates comfortably, a person who articulates effectively, a person who speaks fluently. Because that way, once you then, coupled with the fact that you've had some training and but then it flows out of you naturally in your own words. And you sound like somebody I want to be friends with, because the more you speak, the more I have a window into your soul, as long as I don't think you're just spouting out lines. And so that is really a very crucial and fundamental point. Speak, read aloud 3 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes a time, depending on your enthusiasm, and you'll be astounded. You'll be absolutely astounded. Become a different person. And you are exercising, never mind the gym. And if you want to be on the treadmill while you're reading aloud, that's fine. But as important as it is to train your body, it's just as important, if not more important, to train your soul. Because we are not just bodies, we are bodies and souls. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even say we are bodies that contain a soul. I'd say we are souls that are wrapped up in a body. And learning to speak effectively is a measure of your soul, not of your body. So go for it. All right? Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, that takes us as far as we're going to go today, but I'm not done. I'm back on Sunday, and we're going to take this a whole lot further, and we're going to take a look at things about the Ten Commandments you never dreamed of. I'll just give you a little preamble on that. Number one, in Hebrew, in the Lord's language, they're not called the Ten Commandments. They're called the 10 speakings. There we are, back in talking. And number two, they're only called the 10 speakings 4 times in the entire 5 books of Moses. But they are referred to in a different way 33 times. You know what way? The 2 tablets. 33 references to the 2 tablets, only 4 to the 10 commandments. That tells us that God wants us to understand that the 2-ness is actually more important than the 10-ness. Why? We'll be back.